figure out back in the days it might be an actual map. Nowadays, we may use our lovely electronic devices. But the point is that we have some way to help us get there, some way to help make that happen. And that's why I'm really excited today to be joined by Wendy Marshall from Down Under, as she's going to talk to us a little bit today about the road map to success, the way to navigate the day-to-day whirlwind of a VUCA world. Welcome, Wendy. So glad to have you.
Thank you very much, Tiffany. It's wonderful to be here.
So I do have to start off because when I saw the topic VUCA, I was like, okay, I haven't heard of that. I didn't know if that was like an internal acronym, if that's something that's more Australian than American. So tell me about VUCA.
Yeah, well, VUCA is a term I came across some 10 years ago when I was working on a body of work with the organisation I worked with at the time, and it stands for volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous. And it was actually a term coined by the American military during the 9/11 times, and it's become quite a common term, according to Google anyway, in the business world, because in business world, certainly for the last 10 to 10 years or so, and even more so now, it's quite a whirlwind that we're always in, and having a way to navigate the whirlwind and still run a business is quite a challenge. So VUCA is a really great term that I love to refer to.
All right. So I love that I get to learn every single day. And, you know, it is an American term now. I know maybe I've just missed it before. Maybe it's just not used in my circles, or maybe I've just not paid attention, which could be it. And so not only are you going to learn today, for those of you watching, how to be better at this BNI membership, we're also going to learn a new word, it seems. I'm super excited to have Wendy here with us. Just to give you a little bit of background about Wendy. She is a director consultant in Melbourne, Australia. She's been a member for 5.5 years now. She's a highly developed leader, passionate about leading change with people and businesses. Utilizing her extensive leadership experience of over 45 years, wow, including an MBA and a deep understanding of human behavior, Wendy brings a mix of innovative and disruptive techniques to empower individuals to achieve their potential. Wendy is the co-founder of Leaders Network and is helping leaders succeed by developing mindset, leadership, and business skills to lead themselves and their teams effectively. Her key to success is setting goals, planning, and consistently showing up to take action through having clear priorities to focus on, which I wonder if that'll be part of today's conversation. Very few people know about her, so something nobody knows. She won a twisting competition with Chubby Checker when she was 9 and received a 50-cent coin that had only been released. Was that kind of like this amazing and fun? Like, who would have ever thought it?
Yeah, well, I like to think, I was just putting in the light on thinking it might be better, but it's not. I can't dance to save myself. So the fact that I won a competition doing a twist was just something that was a little bit fun to share.
I love it. I love it. All right. So let's talk a little bit about this roadmap to success.
Well, I like the idea of a roadmap in terms of business planning, and BNI is a perfect example of this. And I didn't realise this when I joined BNI, of course, but I've always loved the idea of business planning and having a way to get from where you are now to where you want to get to. And if I use an Australian version of this, if anyone's familiar with Australia, Melbourne is the capital city of Victoria, Sydney is the capital city of New South Wales. And I love to sort of say, well, if you're driving from Melbourne to Sydney and you've never driven from Melbourne to Sydney, if you don't have a road map to get there, how will you know how you're going to get there? So the concept of a roadmap is simply, I'm here now, I want to get somewhere else. How am I going to get there? And what I love about the concept of the roadmap is, in terms of planning, is that when you go on a road trip, you like to take tourist routes. And tourist routes allow you to go off somewhere, explore, and decide whether you like what you saw, but allows you to get back on the roadmap to keep coming back to continue on your destination. So I like to reference roadmaps in terms of how we plan for our business.
Gotcha. So as we look at this, what are some things that we need to take into consideration to help us create that success?
Yeah, well, first off, you have to know where you want to get to. So the way the roadmap starts is you set up your environment. So you'd be very clear about the vision that you want to achieve for your business. You're very clear about the mission, which is how you want to get there. And the values, having values in your business are really important because they allow you to make great decisions on how you're going to go on your road trip, if I stay with the metaphor of the road trip. And so values drive your decisions. They're like the fuel in your car that help you keep going and making the right decisions on which tourist routes you'll go on. And then obviously having your wildly important goal or your big, hairy, audacious goal, whatever term you want to use. But in this term of the roadmap, the goal is the destination that you want to get to. Now, it could be a 12-month destination, a road trip destination, a 5-year destination. It's whatever you want to get to, but that's crucial to start with. And what I love to do is then, as a long-term and very proud member of BNI, is liken this to BNI. BNI have a clear vision. BNI have a clear mission. BNI have values, which we're all very well aware of, and constantly setting goals. So that's the first element of having a successful roadmap and a plan, is to set up your environment and be very clear about defining where you want to go. Defining where you want to go is really important. And I'm a big fan of work of Napoleon Hill, and he says definiteness of purpose is really important. And when you're clear on your purpose, which is where you want to get to, it's pretty easy to take yourself on that trip to get there.
I'm sitting here thinking, like, I remember when I got into BNI and I was just like trying to put food on the table, pay the bills. I was spending 80% of my time cold calling. So that was pretty much my life and my business, not how I would want to do it. And I certainly didn't have any vision or goals other than survival. And that's all I was doing. It wasn't until I began to think, okay, what's the next step beyond just surviving, that the vision gets bigger. It's kind of like, okay, we get in the car, where are we going to go? I don't know, and we never leave the driveway, versus, okay, let's maybe head from, Melbourne to Sydney.
That's it. That's exactly it. And what I find is a lot of people go into business, particularly from a technician point of view, and then they think, well, I know what I'm doing, therefore I know how to run a business. And they don't necessarily know how to run a business. They just know how to do their thing, their craft, their technique, their skill. And running a business is a very different scenario. So that's why I think planning is crucial. Failing to plan is planning to fail, as Benjamin Franklin said. And so when you've got a plan that gives you a roadmap to get from where you are now to where you want to get to, again, as I said, it can be 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 1 year increments. It's really powerful. So the first element is environment. And what's really important about this is where the VUCA world comes into it, because the VUCA world is the whirlwind of what's going on all the time. Some people, and I used to refer to it as my treadmill, being on the treadmill all the time. But the whirlwind is the stuff that's going on all the time. And then how do you stay focused on a plan through that whirlwind? Well, the roadmap approach allows you to do that, because you can have the plan, and I'll get to the structure of the plan in a sec, but you have your plan, and if you get distracted by a whirlwind, or you get distracted by a bright, shiny object, or as I call them, the tourist routes, so you go off on the tourist route, is that a great opportunity or bright, shiny object, whatever term you want to give it, that will contribute to my plan based on my goal, or will it not? So you can decide, you come back to your plan, decide whether it will or will not fit. So this is where the roadmap comes into it. But the important thing is that once you're clear on where you want to get to, it's the structure of your plan. And this is where it comes down to breaking your plan down into, and I won't go into too much detail because it can take too long, but breaking your plan down into what are the categories of your business, and what are the different elements of the goals you want to set within each category. And some of the primary categories are things like, well, what are my goals in marketing? What are my goals in sales? What are my goals in my client management? What are my goals in my own personal development or my education? And so the plan becomes, the roadmap becomes a chunked down plan of what you want to achieve. And then you break that plan down into quarters, and the quarters become the milestones on your roadmap. So again, same with the roadmap metaphor. Now, if I bring this to BNI, one of the amazing things about BNI is we're always, as in our chapters and in our regions, encouraged to have a chapter plan. And the chapter plan allows us to chunk it down by months. What are we going to do each month? What are our contact sphere days? What are our power group days? All of those sorts of things. But more powerfully than that is the power of one. Now, power of one is an amazing way to see the structure of your plan, because it gives you what we call lead measures in business. They're lead measures. The Power of One is a lead measures that allow you to, when you focus on the Power of One, you are leading yourself to your results. So in any structure of any plan, it's important to have benchmarks and measures as to how are you going to achieve your goals. So if I can't bring that back to the roadmap, well, how many miles, or how many, in Australian terms, how many kilometres are you going to travel on, in the first half of the day or in the second half of the day? How far are you going to get? What's your milestones along the way? And that's what lead measures are. And so the Power of One is a great example of the structure of planning, which provides the lead measures to how we go forward. And this is why I love to liken this roadmap concept and the framework that we use in our business for planning with our clients, to bring that sort of environment, defining what you want, and then planning the structure, which includes these benchmarks and measures. So it lines up beautifully with the way BNI operates.
Yeah, and not all networking organizations are so nice to say, let's track the metrics or the milestones for you, so that you know what they are. And it's interesting. Sometimes I'll talk to a BNI member, a veteran, and they're like, I'm just not getting from BNI what I used to be getting. And it's easy to pull up the Power of One score and say, well, you're doing like 2 1-to-1s a month and passing 3 referrals a month. Do you think you're putting in the activities to get out? And they're like, oh, well, maybe not. And so oftentimes when it's like, I'm not getting out of BNI what I want, my first thing is, are you putting in that giver's gain mindset?
Absolutely. And that's why it's important to reinforce the importance of the Power of One, because it does give you these lead measures. And if we can get members, when we can get members to see that, well, they're the lead measures, they're the measures that will lead you to your results. Do this 1 CU, 1 1-to-1, bring 1 referral, and build your muscle around how to do that, and bring 1 visitor a month. You are leading yourself to your own success. And it just takes time to build that and then build those relationships. And so those lead measures are really important, because then the next dimension of this planning structure that we use is then acting and taking action on your plan, which is where the lag measures come into it. And acting is you're showing up, you're taking action, you're putting, in the terms of the road trip, you're jumping in the car and you're actually driving along the road. Anyone who knows Australia, the road from Melbourne to Sydney is the Hume Highway. If you haven't driven it, you don't know that. You're jumping in the car and you're driving. But in BNI terms, that is, you're showing up to the meeting every week, you have good attendance, and then the traffic light results, which you get at the end of the month, are your lag measures. Now, your lag measures are the result of what you've done all month. And in our particular chapter in my region, not only the chapter I'm a member of, but also the chapter I'm a director of, we're really focused on green. And green being, as we know, it's traffic lights. But I always talk about the fact that the green is simply a visual representation of your commitment to the accountability you said you would hold yourself to when you joined BNI. And so this is why I love the relating this framework of our planning that we help our clients through to BNI, because it really plays out and in how we show up every week and during the month, for not only for ourselves, for our colleagues, for our members across the chapters, and then also for our own clients. So it's really powerful that way. So the traffic lights are the lag measures, and they're the result of the actions that we take every month, which is the third dimension of our planning framework. And again, BNI fits beautifully with it.
So we've got our first 3 dimensions. Is there one more?
There is one more. There is what I love to call the important dimension of the people. As most people say, people are the most important asset in any business. And yes, they are. But the reason they're the fourth dimension in this framework that we use with our clients is because unless you've got a clear definition of purpose and a clear environment, and you know the structure of how you're going to get there, and you know what the expectations are in terms of showing up, how can people have a great experience? So when they know all of that, they can show up with knowing that they're in an organisation or in whether it's BNI or a business they work in or in their own business, they're showing up knowing that they've got all of the elements they need. And so So the key element of the people dimension is the education, the experience, the mentoring, and being able to know that you'll get out of it what you put into it. And so in BNI terms, we know that we know that recognition is a key element of how we show up in BNI. We know that mentoring is key, both having personal mentors as well as topic mentors, and helping people on board into, particularly new members, on board into BNI in a really effective way, and that they'll have a great experience when they join, and that we can set them up for success, so that through mentoring we retain them as members. And so, we know that retaining new members and converting visitors into members is really important. They're the really two key levers. And so this people dimension is about mentoring and having a really powerful mentoring program. But in terms of your own business, it's also how you show up for yourself, and how you continually, as we know, lifelong learning is about the only way to really be in business. So when you've got lifelong learning along with the opportunity to get the education, which is incredible with BNI, then along with the mentoring, it's really powerful. So they're the 4 dimensions. So it's defining what's important and what you're in business for, which is what BNI does as well. Having the structure of the plan, how to bring it to life, acting and showing up, taking action and showing up, and mentoring and providing that sort of education and ability to be the best you can be. And, as we know, with Business Builder in BNI, the education is incredible.
Yes, I think we are so lucky nowadays. And because I've been in BNI a while, I remember when we had a couple of books and a CD. And then, it's been, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 years now that there's been BNI University. And it's like we have so much content right at our fingertips. It is absolutely amazing, the information that they have for us as BNI members to help be better BNI members. And so now we have kind of these 4 dimensions in our roadmap. Now, if somebody's wanting to learn more about you and what you do and how you work with companies, what would be a good way for them to do that?
Yes, well, certainly connect with me on LinkedIn. I love to connect with people on LinkedIn, and so it's Wendy Marshall. And then our website is leadersnetworkgroup.com.au, and we've also got obviously a Leaders Network on LinkedIn as well. So yeah, I'd love to connect with people anytime, have a chat, have one-to-one with any BNI members. Love to connect with people in the US or anywhere in the world, really.
Awesome. Well, Wendy, in just a moment, I'm going to ask any last thoughts or tips you want to share with the BNI members, though I do want to let y'all know coming up, we do have every month our More Abundant Entrepreneur Show. It is the 3rd Tuesday of every month from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern time. And during that, we have 3 presenters, one talking about more money, one talking about more time, one talking about more fun. Though sometimes there's some overlap and the tips might save you in more than one category. And we have a breakout room after each session, so you can plan your implementation, because it sounds like if we have that roadmap and that plan, it's going to help us be more successful. This is a free event. The link bit.ly/MAE show is down there in the ticker. But before we wrap up, Wendy, anything else you want to leave the BNI members with?
No, look, I think probably just to understand that having a plan is really important. I think so many people don't see it's not that they don't see the value. I think so many business owners see themselves as too busy to put the effort into putting a plan into place. But the thing is, a plan provides efficacy in your business. And as leaders, we want to be effective. As managers, we want to be efficient. Particularly in your own business, we've got to be both. So you need this really great balance of effectiveness as a leader and efficiency as a manager. So therefore, the efficacy comes out of how much time you spend on putting a plan in place. And the plans are always designed to be flexible. They're not locked in concrete, black and white, right or wrong. Usually a plan is not right as soon as you've done it. You pick your goal, but you have your plan. This is why the roadmap analogy is so powerful, because the roadmap is simply a way to get from A to B, and how you go on the road depends on what comes up and bumps you. And this is where the whirlwind and the VUCA World comes into it. We're going to get knocked over and have roadblocks all the time. And so the roadmap, your plan, which is your roadmap to success, allows you to have a plan, go off the road onto the tourist routes, but get back onto the plan and go, where am I at today? And particularly when you chunk it down by quarters. So here we are nearly towards the end of, in terms of calendar year, the end of Q2 for the 2023 year. So, you review how you're going at the end of each quarter, and then think, okay, well, what am I going to focus on for the next quarter? And focus and prioritizing is really important. As I think it's Stephen Covey that says, schedule your priorities, don't prioritize your schedule. And so chunking your plan down by quarters, which are milestones on your roadmap, is really powerful. And so I'm always keen to help people plan. If anyone's interested, happy to get in contact and happy to have a one-to-one.
I love it, love it. And I have to say this because sometimes when we do vision work in the Ignite Your Business program, we talk about having that vision and what it looks like. And I've been reviewing my vision from a few years ago currently because I'm reworking. It's that time for me to rewrite the vision this year. And where my vision was 5 years ago, okay, COVID happened, life happened. However, I was working towards a plan. It doesn't mean that you can't change. I like to say if you're going to go from Florida to California, that's other opposite ends of the world. Is it's kind of the same thing as Melbourne at the opposite end of the continent? Or how close is Melbourne to Sydney?
It's about 800 kilometers.
Okay. So it's a little bit further from Florida to California because it's like 2.5 days of driving if you go straight through. So it's a little bit longer, but it's the same thing. Just because we're headed to Sydney or we're headed to California, it doesn't mean that we have to go there. We may find something better along the way that we love, and we stopped there, but we would have never got there if we weren't on the road to get to where we thought we wanted to be.
That's it. So if I was to say, okay, so a longer trip for us would be Melbourne to Perth, and that would take 2.5 or 3 days. And there are so many tourist routes you could go on, but you still have your roadmap that if you don't like the tourist route you went off on, you get back onto your roadmap and keep going. So you're still going towards your destination. And I love what you said about your vision, because visions are not locked in concrete either. They're just what you are wanting to go for at the point in time. But sometimes they don't change. But goals do change. And so goals allow you to have a different plan to achieve the goals you want to go for.
Awesome. Well, Wendy, I want to say thank you so much for your time. Even though it's early for me, it's late for you. So we're appreciative that you stayed up a little bit late to talk to us about our roadmap for creating success, both within our business and within our BNI membership.
Thank you very much, Tiffany. It's been wonderful to have a chat with you. Thank you.